We are live. So give it a couple of minutes. We're not quite at the top of the hour. Vicky's here. Hey, Vicky. I can see when people log in. And it's now 10 o'clock. Woohoo! All right, we can start. And we've got a bunch of people just logged in right now. A bunch more. Vicky, Sandhya, Kristen, Hermione. Hi, Hermione. Beth and Karen, Shannon, Janice, Dan, Leanna. Oh, hi, Leanna. Cool. All right, well, this is Melissa Dinwiddie with Living Your Creative Life, and my wonder assistant, Barbara, is here to assist behind the scenes. I will bring her forward for a moment. Say hi, Barbara.
Hi, everyone.
She's going to be hiding out for most of the webinar, and in fact, I'll go ahead. Actually, Barbara, you can just mute yourself whenever you want, and whenever you want to hide your camera, that's fine. So she'll be helping out behind the scenes, keeping track of requests and questions and things. And I've already got the first raised hand. That's awesome. So this is an experiment. If you guys like this, then I am thinking of doing this once a month as a question and answer, maybe around a theme, or maybe just bring whatever questions you have, and then editing down the recording of the live hangout to be an episode of my new podcast, which will be coming out July 1st. Live Creative Now will be the name of the podcast. So Hermione has a question. That's fantastic. If you have a question, I believe there is a way for you to raise your hand, because I see Hermione did that. This is a brand new system for me. So thank you for your patience as I get used to this new system. So Hermione, I'm going to invite you on as a speaker. If you have a webcam and a microphone, and it helps to have earbuds, because then we won't get an echo. If you've got that, then you can come into the room with us. And if you want to hide your webcam, there is, if you mouse over the video, there's a little icon that is a camera with a slash through it. And there's another icon to the left of that, which is a microphone with a slash through it. And those are for muting yourself. You can mute your camera and you can mute your microphone. But you are welcome to come on in the room with me. So Hermione, I'm going to invite you in as a speaker, and we'll see if this works. This is kind of exciting. First time using a new webinar platform. It says converting attendee into presenter. And in the meantime, if people want to write questions in the chat, or I think there's also a Q&A option as well, you can go ahead and type any questions that you have. And let's see here. Oops, it looks like it didn't work to bring Hermione live. I'm going to try inviting you again. See if that works, Hermione. And those of you, a bunch more people have logged in. Go ahead and type. If you have questions, you can raise your hand and I'll invite you into the room. And then you can ask your question live using your microphone. And if you want to share your cam, you can do that. Helps to have earbuds. So if you have earphones or iPhone earphones. Oh, great. Here's Hermione.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it worked. Woohoo! That's exciting. Hey, Hermione.
Hey, except my screen is a request for permission, so I don't know what's going on here.
Well, I see you and I hear you loud and clear.
All right, well, I don't see you. Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, there's a bit of a lag, so.
Okay, so this, from my end, this keeps bugging off, going back to a blank screen or back to email something, so it's a little, I don't know, weird, whatever.
That sounds a little disconcerting. It may be because of your internet connection. I'm not sure. But I can see you and I can hear you fine.
Okay. The question is time management.
Yes.
I get a lot of your info, and it's like and when does this woman have time to do any artwork? Because she's writing this, that, and the other thing and sending all this out and blah, blah, blah. So how do you manage your time?
Yes, time management is such a great, wonderful issue, and it's a big one. It's a big topic for all of us, right? Yeah, and from the outside, it probably looks like I get a ton done. From the inside, I always feel like I never get as much done as I want. So there's a few things going on. The first thing is, how do I get my art done? I have to make time. I have to be conscious about making time for it. And for me, the big change in that came in 2011 when I was interviewing somebody for a product that I had called the Thriving Artist Project. A woman named, now I'm spacing on her name, Michelle Theberge. And she's an artist, and she works with artists who want to have gallery art careers.
Right.
And they struggle with getting to their art just as much as people who do art just for fun, right? Amazingly enough. And so she tells her mentees, if you can't put 15 minutes a day into your art, you are making an excuse. And she was telling me this in the context of an interview, right? I mean, I'm just talking to her as I'm just asking her questions as an interviewer and getting her to introduce herself. And she says that she tells this to her mentees. Well, that was like a spear right into my gut because I hadn't made time for my art for over a decade at that point. Yeah. Really, the only art that I made for myself was once a year at the retreat that I go to with my calligraphy guild, the Friends of Calligraphy.
Right.
The rest of the year, I would come home from that retreat every year thinking, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to make a weekend a month. I make art all weekend long, staycation. I'm going to do, okay, maybe a weekend a quarter. Maybe a weekend a month is too much, but I'm going to do a weekend a quarter and I'll do one day a month. I'll set aside a Saturday. Or maybe I'll just set aside a Friday afternoon or something. It never worked. And part of the reason that it never worked because I've had this belief that I had to have great big chunks of time. Now, great big chunks of time are great. We love great big chunks of time where we can just dive in and fully immerse ourselves. We all want to do that all the time. But the reality is, like, that doesn't work most of the time because we have lives and lots of other things that need to get done in our world, right? So I spent years with this, I need great big chunks of time, so it never happened. That was my excuse. Then I was on this interview with Michelle Theberge, and I thought, she's right, I'm making an excuse. Barbara, I'm just going to mute you, my dear. I thought, she's right, I'm making an excuse. I don't need big chunks of time, or maybe I don't need. I wasn't sure at that time. I'm going to try an experiment. I can't imagine that 15 minutes a day is really going to give me much, but hey, it's better than nothing. And she's right, I'm making an excuse. So I made a commitment to myself. That was February 1st, 2001, and I said, all right, February is a short month. I'm going to make a commitment to 15 minutes a day for the month of February, playing in the Creative Sandbox, making my art. I get to go over 15 minutes if I want. But if I do only 15 minutes, I get to feel successful. I get to check it off that, yes, I did what I said I was going to do today. And what I discovered was that 15 minutes is actually enough, surprisingly enough, to get into a state of flow. Now, I don't guarantee that's the same for everybody, but it is for me. 15 minutes is longer than you think.
Yeah.
Particularly for the painting that I was doing at the time. I was able to feel like I did something. And there were all sorts of other benefits to that as well. One was that when I was putting in just a little bit every day, I was thinking about my art all the time.
Right.
Was 15 minutes enough to feel fully sated? No. I wanted to spend 3 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day painting, but that wasn't reality. And with 15 minutes a day, I got a little bit, and because I was doing it every day, it was like my toe was always in the creative stream. I was just swirling in creativity and ideas, and in my creative life and in my art the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day because of those little 15 minutes. So that was a huge thing to discover. I felt much more creatively in sync than I would have been if I had spent, say, 2 hours once a week, which is actually more than 15 minutes a day, 7 days a week, right?
Right.
And also, the other thing is, for most of us, the big hurdle is getting started. That's the hardest part.
Right.
And once you start, it's usually a lot easier to keep going. So if I had a timer on, I would often not want to stop. And if I didn't have a hard stop at the end, if I didn't have an appointment that I had to get to or some other deadline that I really needed to pull myself away for and focus on, then I would just keep going. So often that 15 minutes a day turned into 45 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever. And sometimes it was only 15, and it was all fine because I was doing it every day. That's my Creative Sandbox rule. I'm looking over at the poster I have on the side of my bookshelf. My Creative Sandbox rule number 4, think tiny and daily. So that's my suggestion around getting to your art. You have to make time for it. And the other suggestion that I have that has worked wonders for me is my mantra, one of my many mantras: the thing I do first is the thing that gets done. The thing I do first is the thing that gets done. So whatever I do first in my day, that's the thing that I'm going to actually get done, and I'm going to get to the end of my day saying, I did that thing, I accomplished that thing. If that thing that I do first is open up my email and dive into my email, then I'm going to spend the next 2 hours or 3 hours responding to emails and getting sucked into Facebook and whatever else. And I'll get to the end of my day and say, okay, I got my email done, but I may never get to my art. You have to commit to it, and one great way to help ensure that you get to it is to put it as early in your day as you can. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be the first thing you do after you wake up in the morning before you brush your teeth, but early in the day. So getting to your art early, right after you eat breakfast, right after whatever. And that is a matter of setting that intention and letting yourself know this is important. Right. This is just as important as all those other things that you're doing for other people. If you do not do the thing that feeds you, you do not have energy, you do not have patience, you do not have what you need to have in order to do the things you do for other people, right?
That's right.
Doing your art is how you change the world. So you've got to get to it, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. And 15 is an arbitrary number. I now say, one of my clients and students and friends, Laureen Marchand, says any amount counts, and I call that the law of Laureen. And that is now, for a lot of the things that I want to incorporate into my day, any amount counts is now my sort of rule, rather than like a 15-minute minimum or something, because it's that getting started, and it's that reminding myself, yes, I get to do this, reminding myself, yes, this is important. Even if I put 1 minute, even if I play my ukulele for 1 minute, I've played my ukulele today. Does that help, Harmony?
That does. You know, I teach calligraphy and have taught for a long time, and I tell my students, 10 minutes a day. I'm not asking for more than that, just 10 minutes a day. Well, I should take my own damn advice. It's like, all right, and that's true. That's true. Now, there are some days, on Fridays, I have my granddaughter, so that's like, no. But there are other days of the week that I can do that, 15 minutes a day, and I'm a morning person. I mean, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning so I can get to the gym. And when I come home, what I usually do is I read the paper. I've read the paper since I was 14, so it's a long time habit. So maybe what I do is read one section and then I go down and do my
You know what, Harmony, that brings up another really, really great topic, which is the concept of anchor habits.
Yeah.
So if you go to the gym and you read the paper every day, those are very powerful habits in your life. You do them automatically, right? Especially the reading the paper. You've done that since you were 14 or whatever. That's a strong, powerful habit. So the brilliant thing about when you have a habit like that that's so ingrained you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to say, "Hey, Renee, go read the paper." You just do it. It fires automatically.
Right.
So what you can do is you can chain a new habit onto that anchor habit. So you read the paper every day. So this is how I've built up my entire morning ritual, which is I wake up in the morning, go to the bathroom, I drink 2 full glasses of water because I never get enough water, and I do some intense stretching that requires a lot of hydration.
Yeah.
Then I meditate for ideally 10 to 15 minutes. Today I woke up really late. It was 7:37, which is very late for me now. So I didn't have time for a 10-minute or 15-minute meditation, so I meditated for 5 minutes. So I could at least say, yes, I meditated today. Immediately after I meditate, then I do a couple of really intense stretches that take about 3 to 4 minutes. And I actually listen to some professional development. I'm doing a Udemy course right now that's on my phone, so I can listen to little videos while I'm doing my stretching. And then I get back in bed with my journal, and I journal. I brain dump. I do a brain dump, kind of like Morning Pages from Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. And then from there, I come into the studio and I vacuum the studio because there's cat litter everywhere. I scoop the litter box. I go downstairs. I make myself tea. I make myself breakfast. I feed the cat. If there's time, I put a layer of varnish on my paintings. That's all before 9 in the morning. Then I get on my computer and I start writing. Or I get at my drafting table and I start painting, whatever I've set up as my, the next thing I want to do in that day. So, and the way that I've built up that set of rituals in the morning is by starting with one anchor habit. And for me, that anchor habit, this one that I started with, is meditation. So I've tied everything else onto that. So for you, tie 15 minutes making your art to your reading is a brilliant, brilliant idea. And you can either, decide to read one section and then go paint and then come back to the paper, or, play around with it. That's the other thing, is you have to experiment to figure out what works for you. And probably what you try the first time may not work so well. So tweak it and adjust it. And this is where my golden formula comes into play, which is self-awareness plus self-compassion equals the key to everything good. So you use that self-awareness piece to really pay attention and notice, is this working?
Right.
Is this serving me? What's not working so well about it? What do I need to adjust? And instead of beating yourself up and saying, oh, you blew it again, we never beat ourselves up. Love yourself up. See how you can kindly and gently and lovingly caress yourself into a habit that's going to, or a tactic, or a change to your schedule or whatever that's going to work better for you.
Good thought. Good thought. Thank you so much.
Great questions, Renee. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, I am going to send you out of the room. Thank you so much. And this is an opportunity for other people's questions. If you have a question, you can go ahead and raise your hand, and I'm going to scroll through the chat. In the meantime, I'll take a sip of tea. So let's see here. Jacqueline says there's a book about exactly what you're saying, Melissa. It's The Slight Edge, Turning Simple Disciplines into Massive Success by, and I don't see the author's name, but maybe you put it down further in the stream, Jacqueline. If you didn't, go ahead and do that so I can mention it. Cynthia just asked about my daily routine for making time for my art. And well, it's interesting, Cynthia, because I am a big believer in, hold on one second, I'm gonna make one little change to the presentation. There we go. I am a big believer in this. The thing I do first is the thing that gets done. The thing I do first is the thing that gets done. I don't always do my painting first thing, but that is a much later development for me. And that's because I've gotten so used to being able, the style of painting that I do, and this may not work for you, is I can do it in little teeny tiny little dollops throughout the day. And it feeds me so much. And I know that I'm going to get to my painting. So I don't always do it first thing. I do the thing that I most want to be able to get to the end of my day and say, I did that. Yes, that is the thing that I endeavor to do first. And I also have to say, does it always work out that way? No, it doesn't. Oh my God, I'm totally human. So I have what I call my ideal day template, or my ideal daily template. I actually have one of these for my week. I have plotted out, this is a great tip. This is something I just figured out recently. I did a brainstorm, a mind map, I just brainstormed every single thing that I need to do or want to do on a daily basis. I want to add a layer of varnish to my paintings. I want to make sure I paint. I want to make sure to do a little bit of music. Ideally, I want to, well, actually I have a list here. I have these, I send out my daily paintings in my ArtSpark newsletter, and I write a little blurb for each one. So ideally, I write a new blurb every day, even though I have them done well in advance. I want to be in the habit of writing a new one every day. If I don't batch them out, I want to do some kind of professional development every day. So those are some of my daily things. And then there are weekly things that I want to do. I want to make sure that my finances are caught up. I have to do laundry. I don't have the list right in front of me, but I wrote all those things down in my journal. And then I created a spreadsheet, color-coded, that has 7 columns, one for each day of the week, and times broken down by half hour. You could break them down by 15 minutes if you want. And then I plotted out the things that I want to make sure happen every day and every week. I gave them a home on this visual schedule. Do I follow that exactly? No, but it is my template. And ideally, that's how my week is going to go. I leave myself lots of flexibility. So I have blocks of time during which, like before 9 a.m., that's my time ideally to varnish and feed the cat and write in my journal and do a little professional development and meditate. Those are all the things that go in the early chunk before 9 a.m. Do I do them always in the same order? Not necessarily. It depends on what's happening in my day. Then there's a chunk from, say, 9 to 12. Ideally, I would be writing during that time, writing and painting. Do I have to do them at the same, like at 9:15, do I start writing every single day? Not necessarily. I get to change that on the fly for however is working for me right in this present time moment, because things change in our lives, right? So that's how I work on my daily and weekly routine. And what I'm discovering as somebody who has always been allergic to schedules is that the more I create rituals in my day and in my life, the more productive I am, the happier I am. And here's the amazing part, the freer I feel. I do not feel constrained by these rituals. They actually make me feel liberated. It is a lot like if you go onto a hill, a windy hill, to fly a kite, and you just let go of the kite because you say, fly and be free. I don't want to restrain you in any way. The kite flitters around and eventually it falls to the ground. But if you hold the end of that string of that kite, then it flies so powerfully and you can make it swoop and dive and do all kinds of amazing things. It has so much more freedom to do all kinds of things because you are holding the string. That's what my daily rituals are for me. They are me holding the end of my kite string. So if you also feel allergic to schedules, I encourage you to give it a try and just a little piece in your life at first. Let's see. Okay, Hermione, looks like you had another question. I see you in there again, but I'm going to go through these other questions in the in the Q&A stream here. If anybody else wants to get live in the room, go ahead and raise your hand so I know to bring you into the room. Let's see here. Shannon says, as you know, I've been a little sidetracked, so trying to get back into this. As I have a lot of passions, how do I zero in on one thing? How do I put my ideas into action and make a business from it? Ooh, that's a big question. Okay, so let's just look at the zeroing in on one thing. This is something else that a lot of us are highly, highly allergic to. I don't want to pick one thing, because then that means all the other things I'm going to have to say no to. And I don't want to say no to them because they're passions of my heart. I don't want to do that. So what do we do when we're passion pluralites, when we have lots of things that we love? What I figured out in my 30s, it took me into my 30s to figure this out, is I do get to do everything, just not all at the same time. Darn it. I want to. I tried for so long to do everything at the same time. And what happened was I just burned myself out. I never did anything to the degree that I wanted to, and it left me pretty miserable. So I thought in this moment of epiphany, when I realized I do get to do everything, just not all at the same time, I thought, okay, I'm going to pick one. And I realized instantly that's not going to work. I've tried to do that my whole life, and that is never going to work for me. So I thought, okay, I'll pick two. And then I sort of thought, well, but I can't really pick two because there's this third thing I really, really want to do. I'll just pick three. And ultimately, to cut a long story short, what I finished up with was this notion of four things, really four things. And I happened to be in my kitchen, and I looked at my stovetop, and I thought, we always talk about putting something on the back burner. This stovetop idea, this is going to work for me. I'm going to experiment with picking four things that are my areas of adoration, the things that are like they're on my stove. I have all kinds of other things in the fridge, in cupboards, ingredients elsewhere, but I'm going to limit myself to four things that I'm really focusing on that are like front of mind. And my stove has one burner, the front right burner, that's called the high speed burner. And guess what? That's where I do 90% of my cooking in real life. Like that's where I cook most things. I can have 4 pots on the stove at any given time, and I can have 3 of them simmering, and I stir them periodically, do whatever needs to be done, add a little salt or pepper or whatever. But the one on the front right burner, that's the one where I'm actively cooking, right? I love this metaphor because this allows me to rotate my pots anytime I want. I rotate my pots at will. So I have one thing that is realistically, I can really only do one important, like creative thing at a time. I can walk while I'm writing. I have a treadmill, so I can do that. But like things that I'm passionate about, that I really want to invest my thinking and my energy into, I can really only do one of those in any given span of time, like any particular second or minute. I can only do one thing. I can do another thing the next minute, but I can only focus on one thing in any given span of time. That's the thing on my front right burner. So that's the one thing for you, Shannon, that you're going to pick right now. What has helped me so much with that is realizing that all the other things that I'm not picking, I'm not saying no to them. I'm saying not right now. I will get to you when the time is right, if the time is right. You are still in my heart. I am not abandoning you. I am just telling you not right now and focusing on this other thing. How to decide which one of those things. If you were live on the call, I might ask you some questions. If you want to be a speaker, Shannon, go ahead and raise your hand. I don't want to bring you on here if you don't want to be on live, but I would ask you some questions at this point to see what are the things that you're looking at, and maybe be able to help you zero in on which one. But the process that I go through when I'm trying to figure out what to focus on If it's for a business purpose, then I ask myself a lot of questions about it, like, is this a viable business idea? How does this compare to my other ideas that I'm thinking of for my business? Do I have an audience who's already interested in these things? Do I feel confident that there is an audience that's interested in this? Those kind, like, I really put on my business strategist hat and look at my my various different options of what I could offer to the world, what I could focus my energies into, which is the one that is going to make the most return for my investment of time. When it comes to just general passions, often for me, I've gotten to the point where I can it's really a gut thing. I mean, I think it is for all of us. It's a gut thing, but often it's hard for us to be in touch with that. So one useful way to do it is to literally like pick one at random. Say you have 4 things you're considering diving into, put them in a hat or put them on the wall and throw darts at them, or put them in a hat and draw one out. If you draw one and you say, oh, I was hoping I was going to draw the other one, oh, you know something. That's really good data, right? If you pick one out of the hat and you're like, okay, that's fine, I'm going to go for that. Just pick one. It really doesn't matter if you're passionate about lots of them and you know that you can come back to other ones at any time. So that's how I do it. And as far as putting ideas into action, that is a matter of figuring out what it is that you want to accomplish. Ideally, you give yourself an actual timeline. I want to get a website up. When? If you just say, I want to get a website up someday, it's not likely to happen. But if you say, I want to get a website up by the end of July, you're already so much more likely to actually get that website up because you have a deadline. Then, if you build in some accountability around that, you tell somebody, a coach, your audience, if you have an audience, your friends or family, people in a particular Facebook group that you're in, if you let people know, I'm committing to get this website up by the end of July, that suddenly puts the heat up and you're much more likely to make it happen. And then the trick is to figure out what are all the little steps that you need to do in order to get that website up. And another thing to consider is when you say, I want to get a website up, that could mean lots of different things, right? So the more specific you can get about what that means to you, the more helpful it's going to be for you to figure out what are the various different things that you need to do in order to make that happen. Do you mean I want to get a website with 300 blog posts and a membership site and an active podcast and, blah, 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 blah? That's one thing. Or I want to get a website that has an about page and a contact form. Boom, that's it. That's what I would call a minimum viable product. This is a Silicon Valley term. I live in the heart of Silicon Valley. Minimum viable product. What is the least that you can do that will enable you to say, I did that thing? Is it perfect? Hell no. But is it good enough? Yes. And is it going to be changed and improved over time? Oh yeah, you bet it will be. Particularly if it's a website. Websites are always works in progress. Always, 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 always works in progress. What is the minimum that you can do in order to get that thing done and be able to say, I did it? It is in its current iteration, it's complete. Anytime I take on a new project, I try to look at what is the minimum viable of this. I can always go more than that, but start with that minimum viable and you're like 5,000 times more likely to actually make it happen. So Shannon, if you have follow-up questions to that, you can raise your hand. I'll be happy to bring you on into the room, or you can type more questions in the Q&A. I'm going to take a sip of tea. And we're about 10:33, so about halfway through. This is awesome. The text chat is like going by like lightning. I haven't even been able to read it at all. So definitely post in the Q&A section if you have a question, because I'm going to be so much more likely to be able to see it. Oh, I do see, let's see. It looks like Elaine, I think Elaine asked to be invited as a speaker. Is that right? Let's see here. Oh no, I think that was just a blip on my on my
Melissa?
screen. Sorry. Yes, hello, Wonder Assistant Barbara.
Barbara.
Hello.
Actually, Shannon did raise her hand, but
Oh,
we
I
had a
see
little
it.
technical issue there. And
Well,
we also did see it correct that we have a request, had a request from Elaine.
oh,
So
okay,
I'm not
great.
sure if she pulled out or that something happened.
Okay, so Elaine, if you want to get on, there we go. Your hand is back up. Beautiful. Thank you. We're figuring the system out. Okay, so Shannon, I'm going to invite you on and see if you had any follow-up questions. It's converting you into a presenter, is what they call you. I'm going to stop presenting so that if Shannon comes on, we'll be able to see her if she wants to share. Let me try that again. Let's see. You know what? That didn't work. Let me find you in the list of attendees. Shannon, there you are, and try inviting you again. It says converting attendee into presenter. Well, that's not working. I'm not sure if Shannon changed her mind about wanting to be on or not, but I'm going to go ahead and invite Elaine on. Shannon, if you still want to get on, go ahead and raise your hand again. And Elaine, I'm inviting you on, and hopefully this will work. It says converting attendee into presenter. That did not seem to work. Well, that's very frustrating. Try it here. All right, let me try it in this. Try finding you again, Elaine. I apologize about the technical difficulties here. Now I can't even find you in the list of attendees. Barbara, can you work on seeing if we can get Elaine live? And I will move through some of these Q&A questions in the Q&A stream. Ooh, Karen has a really powerful question. Do you have any experience working through grief? I haven't been able to do art for 2 months. Karen, I'm so sorry. Wow. Well, yes, I do have experience working through grief. I've had many, many moments of extreme grief in my life. The one thing that I know about working through grief is that it is completely individual. So what works for you may not be the same thing that works for other people. The one thing that I think is, or a thing that I think is really, really important and helpful when you're experiencing grief is to treat yourself so kindly and so lovingly. What you need most is self-compassion right now, and giving yourself time. And often my experience with grief is that getting past it, getting through it, so that I'm not immersed in this like heavy, heavy grief feeling takes me longer, has taken me in my life experience, has taken me longer than I wanted it to. I want it to be over like immediately, and it isn't. And that's really, really frustrating and really, really hard. And it's human experience. Oh, it looks like somebody was briefly on and then they disappeared. So if you'd like to talk on live about it, you're welcome to come onto the call, or we can try to get you on the call if we can get it to work, Karen. As far as it sounds like from your question, that is a cause of pain for you, that you haven't been able to do your art and that you really want to get back to doing your art. I have talked to some people about who were in similar situations with you, Karen, and sometimes the kind of art that we feel compelled to do when we're immersed in grief is different from the kind of art that we felt compelled to do before the grief. So that's one thing to look at. Is there some way that a creative expression experience would be a balm for your grief? Is there some way that you can modify your art, your creative expression, your pursuit of your creativity that would feel good to you in your place of grief? One thing also, when we're in grief, when we're in depression, often it feels like we don't want to do anything. And sometimes what can help is kind of pushing ourselves to do it even when we don't feel like it. Doesn't always help, but it can. And this is such an important place to practice my golden formula, and to use that self-awareness plus self-compassion. Those really are the key to everything good. So if your self-awareness is telling you, I'm so hungry for my art, I feel such a need for my art, but I'm feeling in such resistance and so stuck or whatever, no, pay attention to that and tease out what the message is there for you. And it may be that the message is just pick up a brush and make one stroke, and then notice how that feels, and then react accordingly. Does that feel like does that give you the desire to make another stroke? Pay attention to that. It's a really important place to pay attention to your desires and really honor your desires. And also be aware that when you're in grief, when you're in depression, your desires are often somewhat very disconnected from your core, what you know in your heart you really want. Part of you wants to just lie on the couch and do nothing. And another part of you really wants to be painting in your studio or making your music or writing your poetry or whatever it is, right? So it's sort of a balancing act between those two things. There's this desire on the one hand, and there's this other desire on the other hand. This is where it's really important to use that self-awareness and try things and see how that makes you feel. And then always treat yourself with love and kindness and self-compassion. Really love yourself up as much as you can. So I hope that's helpful, Karen. I see that, okay, Lane got her hand up again. So I'm gonna try bring you in. I'm clicking the button to invite you as a speaker, and why is that not working? Barbara, can you work on inviting Elaine as a speaker as well? Oh, here we go. Is that Elaine?
Hi, you can call me Janice. There's another Janice.
Hey,
also.
Janice.
Hi. I love your new art. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, I can't see you though. All I have is a black screen.
The technology is still not where it should be. Sorry about that. So Janice, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Oops, did we lose her? Oh no, I think we might have lost her. Oh, Janice, I'm just getting, I'm not getting any sound. Oh, I hate it when the technology does this. All right, let's see. Let me try ejecting you. No, I do not want to eject you. I want to, oh, here we go. Looks like you're back.
I'm back. Still have a blank screen. Oh, there
Well,
you are.
At least you're here. I can see you and I can hear you. Okay, so what did you want to ask, Janice?
Well, I'm multi-potentialite also, but I think what I do is now I've settled on the gourd art, but
Yeah.
I get more satisfaction out of it because I can do several things with it, like the painting, the wood burning, the carving, inlay, and things like that. My problem, I think, is lack of discipline. I have a hard time sitting down to work, and I get a lot of resistance from the household regarding that because I feel like the wheat that falls into the weeds. If you know the proverb, or the
Is it your family is not valuing what you do, that they don't see it as worthwhile?
Yes. It's you need to get a 9-to-5 job, even though after taxes the most I would make with my qualifications is like maybe $1,000 a month, and I keep telling them I have to do this. I mean, it's like air. I have to do it. I have to breathe. I'm slowly getting through it because I have a stubborn streak a mile wide, and if you tell me I can't do something, I fight to do it. But yeah, I still, I know, smack you on the back of the head. Yeah, between the hunting dog and the husband, and I had past of chronic illness. Now his father's dying. All of this stuff going on, and it's like, oh gosh. But I'm 99% finished with a commission piece, and I'm getting ready to work on some others. I've taken several classes, which have pretty much used up my budget. My nephew's helping me get up my website. So the first page is up, JaniceHillArts.com, and it's WordPress. So I have a very hard time understanding that stuff because I'm so right-brained. But I'm determined to do it. It's just, I feel like I'm crawling along when I should be going at a faster pace.
Okay, Janice, oh my gosh, there's so much there to tackle.
I know, a lot of garbage.
No. I mean, this is you're not the only one who's dealing with this kind of thing. This is big stuff. No, absolutely not. And it's so challenging when you live with people. The people who are most important in your life are not champions. That is so challenging. And I do not have, a magic solution for turning them into champions. That is going to really depend on your relationship. It sounds like it's mostly your husband that's the issue. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. It's like when I was doing photography, I sold a piece for $800, and he went to work, and someone told me, he went in and said, she made $800 on a photography piece in Taos. Can you believe someone paid $800 for a photo? So that's what I end up doing with. If it's not directly related to what he wants specifically, then there's very little value in it. He went to visit his father before he passes, and they asked how come I wasn't with him, and he said, well, she didn't make enough gourd money to pay for a plane ticket.
That's really hard. So, I mean, that particular thing comes down to your relationship and negotiating that relationship with him. And I mean, the thing that you have control over is being really clear about what is important for you. Mm-hmm. And I think you might have asked a question in a Facebook group or a chat, perhaps, or maybe it was somebody else who asked this question about how do I get other people to value what I do. And it starts with you valuing what you do. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you know that you need this, it's like breathing to you, is so, I mean, that you know that and you just stated it, that's huge, right? That's the first step, right, is to know what's important to you, and then communicating that. That is all you can do, right? You can let your husband know what's important to you, know what is supportive and what is helpful and what is, what you would love from him, and you can let him know what is hurtful to you and what is not helping, and you can have those conversations with him. I don't have a magic pill that I can give you to give him to make him suddenly become 100% supportive. So that's really challenging. Yeah,
I suspected as much. It doesn't help that he's an engineer. So,
yes, a lot of engineers have a hard time seeing the.
They tend to border on autism.
Yeah. The other thing is, it sounds like money is a big value to him. So and I've seen your gourds. Your gourds are amazing. They're absolutely gorgeous. I could see your gourds as being, highly prized, expensive collector's items. That's the kind of thing that, you need to develop that sense of value and build up that audience of collectors. And I'm not the biz marketing guru. That's my partner Corey Huff, who's I do know some biz marketing, but that's not like my big thing that fires me up. So he's the one to talk to about, and you're already in his Art Empowers program, and I don't know if you're doing his other programs as well. But that, I think that can be a really big value proposition for people who have a hard time supporting us when they see, oh yeah, it's actually bringing in some money. It may take him a while because if his response is, can you believe somebody paid $800 for that? He doesn't value what you do the way your collectors value what you do.
Well, I'm starting to find my collectors. I'm taking Corey's content marketing.
Great.
And I haven't been able to keep up with the classes because of everything that's going on. Plus, we're having a 3-day workshop coming up this on the 15th, and I'm going home to take care of some legal stuff for my family for 2 weeks right after that. But yes, I have a friend that says you don't realize how good your work is. I mean, I know it's good, but I don't know how good, and I'm just starting with Corey's lessons, like finding my ideal client.
Well, I'll tell you something, Janice. I apologize for interrupting, but since we only have 10 minutes left, I want to get to the meat here. And the important thing really is it's not about how good you think your work is. It's about how good your collectors think your work is. And that is about, so much of that is marketing and the story that you tell. And that's your positioning, that's your pricing, that's all of, if you're selling your gourds for $25, people are not going to value them more than $25. But if you're selling those gourds, and this is not something that you can necessarily do overnight, but if you're selling each gourd for $2,500, then people will value them at $2,500, right? So, and that's a whole other story, you know, a whole other conversation about pricing and how to get to that point of being able to command those kinds of prices. But all this is to say that as you build up your business and as you bring in more income, that will help, probably help your husband to be better at supporting you and championing you in doing your art.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, the hummingbird, even though it's partially a gift that I really need to give, I am getting paid for it, but I've been told that the retail price on it should be $3,000.
There you go.
Like, woo!
There you go. So when let me tell you something, Janice. When I started making ketubot, Jewish marriage contracts, the first one I did, I charged $700, which felt like this just huge amount of money to me. It felt like, oh my God, I've never made $700 on anything in my life. That piece took me 70 hours. That means I was making $10 an hour. And even back in 1996, that was not a living wage, especially in Silicon Valley. So I was making this amazing piece of art that I was undervaluing. You know, I was charging $10 an hour for. Like, I don't even take commissions anymore practically. I mean, I would, but they'd have to be paid so much for them. The last ketubah I did, I think I got paid $4,500 for it. So that is a matter of deciding, I am not doing this for a minimum wage anymore. I am doing this for a living wage. I can command this price, and that is mindset. That is, you have to work on that internal shift of valuing your own art. You have to work on that. It doesn't come automatically for most of us. Most of us have a tendency, some people overvalue their work, most of us have a tendency to undervalue our work and therefore underprice it, and that is something that you have to consciously decide that you are going to battle against and make that and work on it. So that's your homework, is really to work on valuing your work.
I've been pushing on the value, and I've listened to you too about, does it make you upset if it's too high or too low? How do you feel about that? And I'm thinking, with my core values, it's peace, connections, and spirituality, and I'm thinking of hitting some spas and seeing. Oh,
perfect! That's a perfect idea for you, Janice.
Thank
you.
I'm
gonna. Yeah, you're so welcome. Great questions. I'm going to. Let's see. Remove you from the broadcast. So let's see. How do I do this? Now I can't even remember how to do this. So I could get on to somebody else's question. But great questions. Thank you. Okay. There we go. Okay. So you're hidden from the broadcast. Okay, so we have, boy, we're almost at the end. Let's see, Leanna asks, how did you learn how to do all of the internet marketing / email / techie stuff? So the quick answer to that, Leanna, is one tiny baby step at a time. One tiny baby step at a time. That is how I learned how to do all that stuff. I figured out what the next thing was that I needed, that I felt like I needed. What do I need to know how to do in order to accomplish this one thing? And then I learned how to do that one thing. I wish I had snapshots. I could probably go in the Wayback Machine and find snapshots of my blog all the way back. My first blog was just some free dorky template, and all it was a blog. I did just like, boom, that was it. I've learned it all one tiny step at a time. That's the short answer. Let's see. Shannon asks, who is Corey Content Marketing? So Corey Huff is at theabundantartist.com, theabundantartist.com. And he is on my list of resources on my website. So I have a resources page that right now is open to the public, and you can just click on resources, and there's a whole bunch of cool resources in there, and Corey's one of them. Okay, let's see. So I have a question here that says, from Rochelle, it says, right now I am kind of pigeonholed as a jewelry designer, which is cool in one way because it means people like my jewelry, but it's not really how I see myself. I want to be an artist. I wonder if I should just accept this as what's happening for me right now and hope it evolves into more, or should I push through and actually live my multi-passionate dream? Is this just a lack of focus? Oh my goodness, Rochelle, this brings me back to 2010, almost exactly 5 years ago, when I was a Katuba artist who did jazz singing on the side, and I felt like that wasn't a big enough identity for me, but I couldn't figure out, what do I do with this? And then I had you can read all about it on Corey's blog, actually, at theabundantartist.com. I have a series of blog posts about my my disastrous journey of building up an art business and then having it collapse with the economy. And I had a moment of crisis when I did a really stupid thing with a client and lost what would have been a very profitable job, and had basically a hit bottom moment, and realized that all these years of feeling like I wasn't really satisfied with what I was doing, but I couldn't really figure out what to change about it because I felt like I had to be a Katuba artist and that was really my only option in life. All of a sudden, when you hit bottom, it makes you realize, oh, there's nowhere to go but up. I can do anything I want. So what do I want to do? So the first thing I would say to you, Rochelle, is to get really clear about what is it that you want. You want more than just being a jewelry artist. You want a jeweler, jewelry designer. You want to be an artist. What does that mean to you? Only you know that. Get really clear about what that means to you specifically. What are the things you want to be doing? If you could be doing anything, what would it be? If money wasn't an issue, what would you be doing, spending your time doing? These are really important things to know. Once you know all those things, then you can start to figure out how to incorporate them into your life. I wrote a blog post a number of years ago about how to live the life of your dreams right now. And Janice just typed in "know thyself." Yes, that's the self-awareness piece of my golden formula. Know yourself, know what works for you, know what doesn't work for you, know what you love, know what you don't love, know what you hate, know all those things. So I wrote this blog post a number of years ago, and how to live the life of your dreams right now. And I wrote it because at the time I was out singing periodically. I might have even had a steady gig at that point, I don't remember, as a jazz singer. I wasn't a touring jazz singer. I wasn't signed with a label, recording albums on a label, but I was a working jazz singer. And it made me so happy to realize that I got to do this thing that I'm really passionate about. I didn't have to be a full-time touring, signed with a label jazz singer in order to live this piece of that dream. I could get out there and sing in front of audiences. Was I doing it full-time? No. Was I making $1 bazillion from it? Hell no. But I was doing it. I was doing the thing that I loved, right? So that's what anybody who has a question like Rochelle's, how do I, this thing that I'm doing that I feel boxed in, this is not all of who I am, what do I do with that? Do I just accept it? You do not have to accept it. You get to determine what you want your life to look like. And it doesn't, I used to think that in order to be, have music in my life in a big way, I had to be a full-time music artist. And I didn't think I wanted to be a full-time music artist. Well, I didn't have to be a full-time music artist in order to have music in my life in a really big way. So whatever those other things are that you want to do, Rochelle, that to you mean being an artist, you can do those things. Start with doing them just a little bit every day if you can. And you will start to notice if you do something even a little bit every day, you are doing that thing. And when you are doing that thing, if you are making art every day, guess what? You're an artist. Do you have to make money from it in order to be an artist? No! Do you have to have a website in order to be an artist? No! All you need to do in order to be an artist and claim that for yourself is to make art. That's it. You want to be a writer? Write. If you write a little bit every day, guess what? You are a writer. You may not feel comfortable claiming that title for yourself, but it's the reality. A person who writes is a writer. So that's my answer to that question, Rochelle. Absolutely, I would say, for me, I am a multi-passionate. I'm a passion pluralite, so I would say push through and live your multi-passionate dream, and you get to figure out how to incorporate all those other things that you want to do into your life in a way that is sustainable and nourishes you rather than sucking you dry. That's the challenge. That's where my stovetop model can come in really handy. And guess what? We are at the top of the hour. Oh my gosh, that hour went by so fast. Let's see. Barbara, I'm going to ask you if you would be willing to download the chat, which I don't even know if either of us know how to do that yet with this new system, but we will figure it out. And I want to thank everybody who came on. We had a bunch of people on this call. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your fantastic questions. We'll be sending out the replay as soon as we can get it processed, so which hopefully will be fairly soon. And yeah, and stay tuned because this was super fun, and I would love to do this again. And this will be edited down into an episode of my podcast, upcoming podcast. So watch for that. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you next month. Mwah! Go get creating! Bye, everybody.
Bye.